Cuccia with the latest. Hi there, Gabrielle. The news hitting this morning on Twitter. What more can you tell us about this departure?
Sure thing. Yeah, there was a lot of speculation as to whether or not the Secretary for the Department of Interior, Ryan Zinke, would in fact step down. That obviously has been confirmed given the latest from President Trump tweeting out a thank you to the Secretary for his time during these 2 years in office serving the administration. He also highlighted the fact that he will be coming to a decision on the next pick to assume the role. Now, while that is still up for debate, we have been hearing talk here in Washington that perhaps the Deputy Director or the Deputy Secretary for the Department of Interior, this is David Bernhardt. He has been facilitating a lot of Zinke's work. He's been a close aide to him. He is also a former solicitor for the Department of Interior under the George W. Bush administration, a lawyer, and very much has his hand here in Washington surrounding oil and gas industry. So we will continue to figure who will make that new role assumption, but we are focused on the Deputy Director to at least be acting come next week.
So some possible replacements there for Zinke, and another big staff shakeup was the appointment of Mick Mulvaney as acting chief of staff. Gabrielle, what are you learning about how long he could be in that position?
Well, yeah, that's still up for debate at this time. However, following General Kelly's departure, we expect the OMB, Office of Management and Budget Director, Mick Mulvaney, to assume that role for acting period. Now, we've heard about a 2-year commitment in the conversation of a chief of staff. We're not certain whether or not he will commit to 2 years or not. Of course, Press Secretary Sarah Sanders also pointed to the fact that a lot of people were wondering whether or not Mulvaney would be able to assume this acting role and also maintain his duties as the director for OMB. She says that he will maintain a dual role for both, with the assistance of Russ Vought, who's the deputy director of OMB, and assisting Mulvaney in his tasks as the OMB director. We will continue to see whether or not he stays throughout the administration, as the president, of course, nears a halfway point during his presidency. I will note, with all the speculation that we have had, or the White House has had, in response to the chief of staff pick and the turnover rate, I spoke with the RNC, the Republican National Committee here in Washington, and they had said, well, in response to the turnover rate, this is an unconventional president who has been working at a faster pace than others, so it's expected that he will make some decisions, make plenty of changes as he continues onward with his agenda, as it is ever changing and ever growing.
All right, Gabrielle, some good insight there from the RNC. But switching gears to Obamacare, a federal judge in Texas really striking a blow to the Affordable Care Act. That was on Friday. What is the White House response to that?
Well, Judge Reed O'Connor from Texas, the U.S. District Judge, has ruled the Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, as unconstitutional in response to the stripping of the mandate in which U.S. citizens would face a tax administered by the government if they were not to enroll. The enrollment date, the last day is today. So kind of interesting how the timeline played out in all of this. But the White House sees this as a success. This is something that President Trump has spoken about time and time again before being president. During his campaign trail, he's certainly been tackling the issue as the president. The White House anticipates that there will certainly be backlash. And of course, we've already heard that from Democrats over on Capitol Hill, specifically to Nancy Pelosi, the minority leader over in the House. But he tweeted out today, he's pointing to the minority leaders, Senator Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi, to lead the charge in facilitating some new legislation. And of course, we hear the left concern being that those with pre-existing conditions will lose their care. The president is being certain that that will not in fact happen, and he hopes that both Republicans and Democrats can come to the table. But until then, as we expect an appeal, as we expect ongoing conversations, the law will remain intact for the meantime. But of course, we will see what happens as the days continue.
All right, so the Affordable Care Act may be headed back to the Supreme Court after that federal judge declared the core provisions in the ACA, like the individual mandate, unconstitutional. As you mentioned, the judge ruling that after the president signed a $1.5 trillion tax bill passed by Congress last year that eliminated the penalties, the individual mandate no longer be considered constitutional. All right, One America's Gabrielle Cuccia with the latest on the federal judge ruling out of Texas and, of course, the most recent staff shakeups. Thank you so much, Gabrielle, for that live report.
Want to see more videos like this? Click on the link below and subscribe to One American News on YouTube, and call your cable provider and kindly demand